A friend of many shows, but I think he thinks
he's using the other shows to get to this show.
Yes, I think that's true. I think he really likes this show the best. Mr. Frank Caliendo, the man of 10,000 voices.
Hi, fellas.
Thanks. Hi, Frank.
All of them
voice.
hi.
It's a puppet voice. Working on brand new characters, or some people might recognize that as the gingerbread man from Shrek.
Oh yeah.
Hey, what's going on?
Have you ever listed him, Frank? Have you ever made a list of all the voices?
I used to do that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then you know, I'm obsessive compulsive in the first place, so I started writing down things like Walter Brennan. You know,
kids love Walter Brennan.
Gehrig, you know, the people nobody remember. It's like going to Rich Little's website.
Yeah, I know.
You ever go to Rich Little's website?
Yeah.
Hours of history. No present or future, but
there's times where you want to hear Hubert Humphrey in a laundromat, and
it's incredible. I mean, it's I'm Spiro Agnew. I'm not even joking. Literally, everybody introduces themselves, and it's all like, I'm Andy Rooney.
Do you remember Phil Hartman used to do a thing where he would bring a giant list, and he would say to David Letterman or whoever's interviewing him, number 114, and then he goes, number 114 is? And he would do an impression of who number 114 on the list was.
Right, yeah. Well, here's the thing. I thought Phil Hartman was one of the funniest guys of all time. I never thought Phil Hartman was a great impressionist. He always sounded like Phil Hartman doing it, but he was, at the same time, always completely believable.
Yeah.
So it was like, you knew it was a Phil Hartman impression, because it sounded like Phil Hartman. But if you saw him in the makeup and doing everything, you were like, this is the best impression I've ever seen. And then you listen to it after, and you're like, it's just okay. But he's funnier than everybody else. And it's like Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell didn't do very good impressions, but he was funnier.
Yeah.
He may be the funniest sketch guy I've ever seen. Yeah. So, you know, there's different versions of that. Even you go watch Daryl Hammond, who I think is funny, but amazing with knocking out these incredible impressions of people. You're like, how do you do a Shepard Smith? But that's what we do at Frank TV. Instead of like the Mad TV, NFL, and Fox way I've been doing it, with putting on all the extra pieces, it's just give them the hint and let it be like a little South Park version, little round version of me, or the person. You know, that's what it is. Is that I don't want to hide and look exactly like the people, because I don't want to be an impersonator.
Mm-hmm.
I want people to know, hey, that's Frank Caliendo doing that. So that, you know, that's kind of it's my take on it. It's almost like, to me, it's like an art. You know, it's an
impression.
Yeah.
It's not an impersonation.
Yeah,
it's an
and
impression.
people, you're an impersinator. No, an impersonator is that's some guy who had a bunch of facial work done to be Cher in Vegas. That's what that is to me. You know.
You don't aspire to that?
By the way,
yeah,
how great, Frank? I know you're a huge Cher head. How great is this announcement that she's coming out of retirement now to do 200 dates at Caesars?
Yes.
How about that? I mean, can you imagine who's going to be in the front row? Frank Caliendo.
No, John Madden will be there. George Bush will be there. Pacino will be there. Spiro Agnew will be there.
Are you old enough to have seen a show called The Copycats?
I know what it is. I don't remember seeing it, but I know.
They had 6 or 7 impressionists, all doing, working together. Right. And it was actually pretty fun to watch, because between the 7, they got everybody.
Yeah, somebody was telling me, they're like, your show's a Frank an impressionist show. I'm like, no, it's not really. I mean, it's a sketch show. Frank TV is.
Right.
It just happens to have lots of impressions to start it out. I mean, the goal is to have some other kinds of stuff in there too, but that's just my strength right now. But it's not really an impression show. Every time I've ever seen an impression show, it's like really bad scenarios, and I wanted to have thought behind things. The De Niro Pacino movie review thing that we were talking about off the air
really good
is based on the fact that former athletes go on to be announcers and coaches and stuff like that and critique players. Well, you don't see that in the acting world where they go on to be movie critics. Yeah. So they go on and it makes sense. But then we gave the guys characterizations with Pacino and De Niro. The fact of the matter was like two old people going to the movies. They never talk about the movie. They like the movie or dislike the movie based on what theater it was at. They don't have cup holders? Where are you supposed to put your Pepsi Cola? I say, don't go. Well, I say go because not knowing where to put your cup holders is moronic. It is very stupid now. It is. Stupider than not going because you can't get out of there without getting gum on your feet? I think so. Or maybe not. I changed my mind. I say, no wait, I say do not go. I'm going to agree with myself. What just happened?
The fun thing was, Frank, watching you do both characters on the show was like when Elizabeth Montgomery did Serena and Samantha on Bewitched at the same. You have to react to yourself.
Yeah, I mean that's fun. That's part of the fun. One of my favorite sketches from the show was Shatner's Law. It was where we gave William Shatner's been a cop, a lawyer, but never a judge.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see him be a judge, just because, and base everything on old T.J. Hooker episode scripts. That seems like something Shatner seems like he should have a daytime judge show. So it's that truth of the feeling that it should be real. That'd be great. It's not the law. It's Shatner's law.
I cannot get the one image of T.J. Hooker out of my head, which is just the opening credit roll, where he throws the baton and somehow hits a guy in the calf muscle, and the guy just wipes out. I have not yet figured out how it's possible. I mean, if they could just do that, cops would win all the time. They never have to shoot a guy in the back. We should learn that here in Chicago. You never have to shoot a guy if you just throw the baton and somehow just touch his heel, and boom, the guy's on the ground, splayed out, like, okay, I give up.
The hook you did, Frank, when you were on last time and you were just starting to do Charles Barkley, you kept saying terrible. Everything was terrible. But then on the TV show, you didn't even use that.
We threw a terrible.
Oh, yeah. First one out.
That's terrible. Kim Jong-il crazy.
Well,
I'm going to blow up the world. Horrible.
Wasn't it was the second one where you're doing the Hollywood Squares with him, right?
Yeah. The whole thing is I found out who stole his vowels because he loses them terrible, horrible. Never plays Scrabble with him.
Triple word score, TRBL. There it is. I win.
The guy who stole the vowels, Bill Walton, because it's terrible. I remember being at Berkeley, blotches of beard not connecting on my face. I could smell colors. I could feel sounds. Has there ever been a player better than Detlef Schrempf? Walton can make anything sound good. Look out the window, see a mushroom cloud going up, and the entire city destroyed. Finally, a chance for an entire civilization to start over. If you've ever wanted to be a zombie person, now is the time.
So I would never want to be a zombie person. Gotta walk with your hands out all the time. Or sometimes a limb falls off or something like that. That's terrible, horrible, really, really bad. If you're a zombie person, you're a knucklehead.
And we've talked about this before, but it does bear repeating. John's not the biggest fan of the impression that you do of him.
Doesn't like me at all.
Yeah.
My man,
and that's real. You and Bradshaw are probably okay in real life.
Care.
Yeah. He just has
those guys. Andy Rooney asked for stuff the other day. After we did him on the NFC Championship, he called up and how do you use this phone? I remember when you used to. Operator 227. Yes, it's T-463.
Delaware 6.
He in 60 Minutes or CBS News called asking for a tape because Andy missed it and he's seen all I guess.
So what's John Madden's problem? If all these other guys love you doing their voice and their
I'm
manner,
pure evil.
Is that what it is?
I don't know. I think it's just being a coach and just,
But I'm sure he's a little insecure about the fact that he is kind of this coach, and sometimes he's just making crap up. And his reverence, his Barack Obama-esque reverence for Brett Favre is just it's creepy. Let's be honest.
You just have to love him. I mean, when you have a name that's Favre and you pronounce the R before the V, I mean that's magic. That's magical. I mean, anytime you think of a guy who's magical, boom, Brett Favre comes to mind.
Maybe Madden's angry because you sound more like him than he does.
That might be part of it, though.
Yeah.
And they say put a Y on the end of the name there, not on purpose, just because I feel like I'm comfortable enough. But that's all right, Rowie, and Farley, and
I used to get ripped in the papers and stuff like that too. People used to rip me to shreds because we were always doing jokes with food and stuff like that. It's just, that's what Madden does. We're not calling him a big slug or something like that. We're just we did the thing in the Super Bowl. People seem to like when I made the pick. I was talking about the difference between New England and New York, and it widens out, and I'm talking about chowder instead of
smooth yet creamy. And, you got a packs a punch. It's a classic. Offense versus defense. Boom! I'm going with New York.
Frank TV coming back since the strike is done.
Yeah, it looks like they're getting close. Right? FrankCaliendo.com has all the information as well, and there's free downloadable ringtones. The new favorite ringtone, Charles Barkley. It's only for guys with wives who are divorced because when your ex-wife calls.
Oh no, this is gonna be terrible. That's a terrible. It's the ex-wife calling from an ex-house, and she's dating one of the ex-men. Back to you, Ernie.
Who's Ernie? That's a guy who works with Bert.